Hi you guys, we have a new learning target today. We're kind of just building off of what we did yesterday. But our learning target today is I can represent a fraction with equal parts that are larger in size than the equal parts of an equivalent fraction. So in our last lesson, what we did was we were taking these larger parts and comparing those equal parts to fractions with smaller equal parts. Now we're just kind of flip-flopping it. So the smaller parts are what we're going to compare with our larger parts. Now remember that an equivalent fraction is fractions that take up the same amount of space, or they have the same distance. They're fractions that are equal. So equivalent, keep that in your head and remember equal. So let's look at our first problem. Thea is a landscaper. According to her design, 2/3 of the garden should contain red roses. She plants red roses in 4/6 of her new garden, not 2/3. Does Thea make a mistake? So, according to her new design, 2/3 of the garden should contain red roses. But she decides to plant 4/6 of her new garden, not 2/3. They want to know, does she make a mistake? So we're comparing the new garden, the 4/6, to the old garden, which was the 2/3, and seeing if those fractions are equivalent, if they're equal. So right now we have 4/6 up here. I just did a fraction strip. So 4/6. I already have this broken up into 6 equal parts. So now what I need to do is go in and shade the 4 areas that would have roses in them. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's how much space, or the amount that she's going to take up with 4/6 of her garden being roses. But they want to know if that 4/6 of having roses in the garden is the same as having 2/3 of the garden be roses. So now I'm going to come down to my 2/3, and I have it split into 3 equal parts. Now I need to fill in those 2 parts, because that's how much she had for the roses. So, looking at these 2 fraction strips, I can see that my 4/6 has the same distance as my 2/3. So they're asking, did she make a mistake? No, she didn't make a mistake, because that 4/6 is equal to or equivalent to the 2/3. Now I'm also using fraction strips on this next problem, but instead I turned them up ways, whichever one helps you see it visually. Now, this one says that Tim says that 2/8 of his water bottle is filled. John says that 1/4 of the water bottle is filled. Are the fractions equivalent? So here's what Tim says, and his is 2/8. So I have 8 equal parts, and I shade in 2. That's how full his water bottle is. Now, John says that 1/4 of the bottle is filled. 4 equal parts, fill in 1. So I'm looking at these 2 fraction strips, and I can see that they take up the same amount of space. They take up an equal amount. So I would be able to say that 2/8 is equal to or equivalent to 1/4. So now we're going to step away from the fraction strips, and down here, I'm going to use circles this time instead. So Ron bakes 2 same-sized pies. This is important. Same size, which means we need to make sure that our circles or the pies are the same exact size, so we're able to compare them. He sells 4/6 of the apple and 2/3 of the pumpkin. Are the two fractions equivalent? So for the apple, he sold 4/6. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And then for the pumpkin, he sold 2/3. So 1, 2. Now, looking at these two pies, are the 4/6 and 2/3 equivalent? I would say yes. It seems to me that they take up the same amount of space. Then, number 4. We're going to use a number line. They want to know what fraction is equivalent to 2/3, or 2/6, sorry. So here's our 2/6 right there. And they show me up here that I'm working in thirds, which means my fraction has to be broken in 2/3. So here's 0/3. Then I would need to break it again and make 3 equal parts. So here's 0/3, 1/3, there's 1 equal part, 2/3, there's my 3rd equal part, and then 3/3. So, looking at 2/6, the fraction above the 2/6 would be 1/3. Now, I also want to show you a different way you can tell if fractions are equivalent. It is called cross multiplying. I'm just going to write that right here. Cross multiplying. This is how you can tell if two fractions are equivalent. So I'm going to go up to my 4/6 and my 2/3. Now, they say cross multiplying, which means you're doing some crisscrossing. You're going to make an X. So I'm going to be multiplying 6 times 2 and 4 times 3. 6 times 2 is 12. 4 times 3 is 12. 12 equals 12. Are they the same number? Yes. So 4/6 is equivalent to 2/3. Same with right here. If I want to cross multiply, instead of drawing a picture, I would say 8 times 1, that's 8, equals 2 times 4 is also 8. So 2/8 is equivalent to 1/4 because both fractions, when I cross multiply them, equal 8. We can even do that down here as well. Cross multiply. 6 times 1, 6. 2 times 3, 6. Both are 6s, so 2/6 equals 1/3. So just like yesterday, you guys are going to be doing your assignment. Hopefully this helps you. And then seeing the cross multiplying is also something that is going to help so that you can figure out if fractions are equal or equivalent a little bit faster rather than having to draw a picture each time. So good luck on your assignment, and I hope this helps you guys. Have a great day.